Hi, I want to talk about Samuel Beckett's play, Waiting for Godot. I think in terms of the English language, this play is probably one of the most important plays of the 20th century, maybe right alongside Death of a Salesman by Arthur Miller, the American side of the pond. And like Death of a Salesman, its figures, its ideas have become almost archetypal, waiting for Godot. A wait that may never truly end. But stylistically, of course, Waiting for Godot is very different from Arthur Miller's play and from most plays, particularly the plays that preceded. When you think about a play, Shakespeare, Sophocles, Arthur Miller, what do you get? Well, first of all, you get a sense of plot. Something happens, right? You get an introductory situation. There is some sort of conflict. You get rising conflict, right, as things progress. There's a crisis where something happens. Then there's the falling action and the denouement, the end, the resolution. Conflict, crisis, resolution. Pretty straightforward. Chekhov wrote one time, if you put a gun on the wall in the first act, you have to fire it off in the third act. All these expectations, though, are disrupted by Beckett. It's not just the fourth wall being broken down, right? That invisible wall between the audience and the players, the actors. It's that the very core of what we expect to happen doesn't happen. Not only does Godot never show up, we don't know why, we never learn why, we don't have any reason to suspect that he ever will show up, but we also have no reason to suspect that Vladimir and Estragon will stop waiting for Godot. It will just keep going on, kind of like a treadmill. There are so many possible themes with Godot, the play, right? One could look at it as a sort of a contemporary view of humanity, sort of at a loss, trying to apply meaning to the meaningless. It's very postmodern, right? Trying to apply meaning to the meaninglessness of everything. Why does something happen? Pozzo, one of the other few characters in the play, the slave master of Act 1, comes back blind in Act 2. How did he go blind? We don't know. He just, boom, went blind. There's no reason for it. It just is. It just happened. Where are they? Are they in a different place in Act 2 than they were in Act 1? I mean, the tree has grown some leaves. That was pretty quick. But it seems the same. Does it even matter? Lucky the slave could easily get away, especially after Pozzo is blind. Yet he does not. Why? Estragon and Vladimir banter about. That is the main part of the play, is their banter, as they talk and talk about various issues, including possibly committing suicide, which for practical reasons they decide not to do. They really can't be sure it'll work. Right? All kinds of issues could arise in terms of contemporary thought. When this comes out, of course, in the 20th century, people say, oh, we're waiting for God. But Beckett famously said if he wanted it to be God, he would have said God. He said Godot. So what's really going on? Is it a critique of religion, spirituality? Is it a critique of materialism? Is it simply a critique of our endless quest to answer questions, to seek for some definitive response? Maybe a critique of rationalism, if you will. There's really nothing definitive to say about Godot, beyond, of course, the actual language of the play. Everything else is guesswork. And my personal thought is that's exactly what he wanted us to do. Be constantly kept off balance, constantly guessing. He wants us to search for meaning and put meaning there, but then he disrupts that search for meaning constantly also. We look for symbolism. The symbolism is disrupted. We look to apply rational thought, but rational thought doesn't really explain a lot of things that are going on. There's no real anchor that we can say, okay, here, this is it. As you know from reading the biography of Beckett, he worked for Joyce, James Joyce, kind of a secretary. And he saw that Joyce went as far as you can go with maximalism. If you've ever tried to read any part of Finnegan's Wake, you'll know exactly what I mean. So he went the other way. Instead of throwing in everything, he gives us as little as he possibly can. What is he saying? It's up to you to decide.